The classroom buzzed with excited chatter as students from 12 different species filled the curved seats of the Universal Studies lecture hall. The room itself was a marvel of engineering, with adjustable atmosphere controls for each seating section and variable gravity platforms that allowed everyone to remain comfortable despite their different biological needs. Professor Velthos stood at the center podium, his tall Centaurian frame casting long shadows under the bright station lights. His forearms moved in, practiced gestures, as he called the class to order. The room fell silent almost immediately. Velthos had a reputation for being fair but strict, and none of the students wanted to start the semester on his bad side. "Welcome to Advanced Xenobiology," Velthos began, his voice carrying easily through the translation devices each student wore. "This semester, you will each undertake a comprehensive research project. You will study, analyze, and present on a classified Deathworld." Excited whispers rippled through the classroom. Deathworlds were the stuff of legend in the Galactic Academy. Dangerous planets with extreme conditions that somehow still supported life. Most students had never even seen footage from a real Deathworld. In the back row, Crix fluffed his feathers nervously. He was a Volian, a bird-like species from a low-gravity moon where the air was thin and gentle breezes were considered severe weather. The idea of studying a Deathworld both thrilled and terrified him. Next to Crix sat Maratel, her blue skin shimmering under the lights. She came from an ocean world where conflict was rare and predators had been extinct for thousands of years. She leaned toward Crix and whispered, "Do you think we will have to watch recordings? I heard Deathworld footage can be disturbing." Crix nodded, his large eyes blinking rapidly. "I hope I get an easy one. Maybe a Class 5 or Class 4 world. Nothing too extreme." Several seats away, almost invisible in her corner spot, sat Jiwoo Park. She was human, one of only 3 from Earth currently attending the Galactic Academy. She had been quiet since the semester started, keeping mostly to herself during breaks and speaking only when called upon. Now she sat very still, her dark eyes fixed on Professor Velthos. The professor activated a holographic display. A spinning wheel appeared in the air above him, divided into sections. Each section showed the name of a different Deathworld. "You will." Each spin the selector. Whatever world it lands on becomes your assignment. No trades, no complaints. You have the entire semester to complete your research and presentation. One by one, students approached the podium and activated the spinner. Some groaned when they received high classification worlds. Others cheered when they got planets that were barely Deathworlds at all. When Crix's turn came, he walked on unsteady legs to the podium. His small clawed hand reached out and touched the activation button. The wheel spun, colors blurring together, and then slowly came to a stop. "Earth," Professor Velthos announced. "A Class 3 world in the outer spiral region." Crix felt relief wash over him. Class 3 was middle range, not too dangerous. He returned to his seat with a bounce in his step. "Lucky," Maratel said. "I got Krevtar, a Class 2 world with acid rain and metallic storms. Class 3 should be manageable." Crix agreed. "I wonder what Earth is like." From her corner, Jiwoo's expression changed slightly. Her jaw tightened. But she said nothing. After class ended and most students filed out, Crix immediately went to the library terminals. He entered Earth into the database and waited for information to load. The first results appeared quickly. Earth was listed as an agricultural world that had recently made contact with the Galactic Council. The planet had one dominant sapient species, called humans. Population, approximately 8 billion. Current technology level, early space travel. Classification, Class 3, Deathworld. Crix relaxed further. It sounded almost boring. An agricultural world meant peaceful farming communities, right? He scrolled through the basic statistics. Gravity, 1 standard units. Atmosphere, Nitrogen-oxygen mix. Temperature range. -40 to +50 degrees Celsius. Wait. Crix stopped scrolling. That temperature range seemed extreme. His homeworld varied by only 10 degrees across the entire year. He looked more carefully at the data. Water coverage. 71%. That was normal. Orbital period. 365 local days. Also normal. Tectonic activity. High. Volcanic activity. Moderate to high. Weather severity. Variable. Includes hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, monsoons. Crix's feathers flattened against his body. That seemed like a lot of extreme weather for one planet. He noticed several footnotes marked with small warning symbols, but the actual files were locked behind security clearances. Strange. Why would basic planetary data need security clearance? Crix copied the available information to his personal device and decided to talk to Professor Velthos tomorrow about accessing the restricted files. The next day, he found Maratel in the common area, her tentacles wrapped around a warm beverage container. "How is your research going?" she asked. "Strange," Crix admitted. "Earth seems normal at first, but there are locked files everywhere. The planet has a lot of extreme weather. More than seems right for an agricultural world. Maybe it is a recent designation?" Maratel suggested. Perhaps they only started farming after they developed technology to protect themselves from the weather. That made sense. Crix felt better. Many species had to overcome planetary challenges before they could thrive. That afternoon, he approached Professor Velthos after class. "Professor, I need clearance to access restricted files about Earth. There are many locked sections in my research." Velthos's expression was hard to read, but his upper arms crossed while his lower arms sorted through data on his tablet. "Earth. Yes. Those files are restricted for good reason. Crix, are you certain you want full access?" "I need it for my project," Crix said firmly. "I cannot do a complete presentation without complete data." The professor was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed. "Very well. I am granting you Level 3 research clearance. But Crix, I warn you now. Earth is not what it first appears. Many students have requested assignment changes after researching that world too deeply. If you find the material disturbing, come speak to me immediately." 1. Crix nodded, confused by the warning. That evening, he returned to the library terminal and logged in with his new clearance. The restricted files opened before him. Pages and pages of data began to load. Crix started reading. His eyes grew wider with each paragraph. His feathers stood on end. His breathing quickened. Across the library, Ji Woo sat at her own terminal, working on an assignment for a different class. She glanced up and saw Crix's reaction. She saw the moment his confidence began to crack. She had seen that look before on other aliens' faces when they learned the truth about Earth. She considered going over to him, considered warning him to pace himself, to not read everything at once. But she stayed in her seat. Sometimes, people needed to discover the truth on their own. Crix continued reading late into the night, unable to stop, unable to look away. And with every new file he opened, his understanding of what Class 3 Deathworld truly meant began to change forever. Crix did not sleep well that night. His dreams were filled with images from the files he had read. Massive storms that could flatten entire cities. Waves of water, taller than buildings. Ground that split open and swallowed structures whole. He woke 3 times in a cold sweat, his feathers tangled and damp. By morning, he looked exhausted. Maratel noticed immediately when he arrived at the breakfast commons. "Are you sick?" she asked, concern rippling across her skin in patterns of darker blue. "I am fine," Crix lied. Just did not sleep well. But he was not fine. As he picked at his food, he could not stop thinking about what he had learned. Earth's gravity was not 1 standard units like he had first read. That measurement had been rounded down. The actual gravity was 1.3 times the standard galactic measure. For Crix, who came from a 0.6 gravity moon, that difference was enormous. It meant everything on Earth was heavier, denser, more massive than what he was used to. And the atmosphere. Yes, it was nitrogen and oxygen. But the oxygen percentage was higher than most civilized worlds. Much higher. The first Galactic Council contact team had needed special breathing equipment not because the air was toxic, but because it was too rich, too energizing. Several team members had experienced oxygen toxicity and needed medical treatment. During morning lectures, Crix could not focus. His mind kept returning to the data. Professor Velthos noticed his distraction and gave him a concerned look, but said nothing. After class, Crix returned to the library. He had to know more. Had to understand what kind of world could be both agricultural and so dangerous. He opened files on Earth's weather systems. The data was worse than he expected. Hurricanes were rotating storm systems that could span hundreds of kilometers and generate winds exceeding 200 kilometers per hour. Tornadoes were smaller but more violent, with winds that could reach 300 kilometers per hour and could appear with little warning. Blizzards could dump meters of frozen precipitation while temperatures dropped low enough to kill exposed beings in minutes. And these were not rare events. These disasters happened every single year, multiple times per year. Humans had named their hurricane seasons because they were so predictable and common. Crix's claws trembled as he opened the next file. Tectonic activity reports. Earth's crust was broken into massive plates that constantly moved and ground against each other. When these plates shifted suddenly, earthquakes occurred. The files showed recordings of earthquakes that had collapsed cities, triggered massive ocean waves called tsunamis, and killed thousands of beings. The planet also had active volcanoes, mountains that contained liquid rock heated to over 1,000 degrees. When these volcanoes erupted, they could bury entire regions in ash, poison the air for months, and even change global weather patterns. Earth had experienced volcanic eruptions large enough to cause mass extinction events that killed most life on the planet. And yet, somehow, life had survived, had adapted, had continued. Crix felt sick. He pushed away from the terminal and went to find Maritel. He found her in the common area with several other classmates, all comparing notes on their assigned death worlds. Crix, you look terrible, said Tomric, a crystalline being from a stable, geologically quiet world. Is your research going badly? I do not know if badly is the right word, Crix said slowly. I am learning things about Earth that do not make sense. What do you mean? Maritel asked. Crix opened his tablet and projected some of the data into the air above their table. Images of hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions appeared. The other students leaned closer, curious. This is Earth, my assigned world. Look at these natural disasters. They happen every year, not once every century or once per generation. Every single year. The other students made sounds of surprise and concern in their various languages. How does anything survive there? Tomric asked. That is what I am trying to understand, Crix said. He pulled up more files. But it gets worse. Look at Earth's predators. New images appeared. Creatures with sharp teeth and powerful jaws, animals that hunted in packs using complex strategies, beings with venom that could kill in minutes, predators that could run faster than most galactic species could move even with mechanical assistance. This creature, Crix pointed to an image of a large spotted cat, is called a leopard. It hunts by hiding in trees and dropping onto prey from above. It can carry animals twice its own body weight up into those trees. Another predator, called a crocodile, can wait underwater for hours without moving, then explode upward with enough force to drag large animals beneath the surface to drown them. Maritel's skin had turned pale, almost white. Humans evolved among these creatures, Crix corrected. For millions of years, humans were prey. They were hunted by things faster and stronger than themselves. How did they survive? Asked Prilna, an insectoid student whose species had never known predation. Crix opened another file. Tools, planning, group cooperation, and something called persistence hunting. Humans are not fast, but they can run for hours without stopping. They would chase prey animals until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Even in Earth's heat, humans can continue moving when other animals must stop. The group fell silent, processing this information. Finally, Tomrik spoke. I am glad I did not get Earth as my assignment. This sounds horrible, Crix nodded slowly. I have not even started on the diseases yet, or the parasites, or the... Crix. A quiet voice interrupted him. Everyone turned. Jiwoo stood a few meters away, holding her own tablet. Her expression was calm, but her eyes were serious. You should stop, she said simply. You are not ready. Crix felt his feathers rise, partly from fear, partly from offense. I am a serious student. I can handle research data. These are just facts. Jiwoo stepped closer. Now Crix could see she was shorter than him, though in the station's standard gravity that meant little. She looked fragile, compared to many species present, but something about the way she stood made Crix uncomfortable in a way he could not name. They are not just facts, Jiwoo said quietly. They are my home, and you are looking at numbers and images without understanding what they mean. Without context. You will hurt yourself if you continue this way. Are these reports exaggerated? Maratel asked hopefully. Maybe the early contact teams misunderstood. No. Jiwoo interrupted. If anything, the reports are too gentle. They leave out things. Important things. She paused, then added, the earthquakes and storms? They do not show the smaller disasters. The floods that happen every spring. The wildfires that burn every summer. The avalanches in winter. These are so common on Earth that we do not even report them unless many people die. The group stared at her in horror. You grew up in that? Prilna's translator made her voice sound shrill with distress. How many times did you nearly die? 1. Jiwoo considered the question seriously. Personally, maybe 4 times. But I am lucky. Some people face death much more often. It depends on where you live. She said it the way someone might discuss the weather being different in different regions. Crix felt something cold settle in his chest. 4 times. You nearly died 4 times before coming here. Yes. Jiwoo did not elaborate. Tomrik's crystalline body flickered with distressed colors. And you call that lucky? My grandmother survived a tsunami that killed 15,000 people in her city. My uncle lived through an earthquake that destroyed his home. My cousin had cancer, but the treatment worked. Yes, I call myself lucky. Jiwoo's voice remained steady. Factual. The students exchanged glances. Cancer. Crix had not even gotten to the disease files yet. I need to continue my research, Crix said, though his voice shook slightly. It is my assignment. Jiwoo looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Then be careful. And remember that humans are not special. We are not uniquely strong or brave. We are just what Earth made us. If you truly want to understand Earth, you need to understand that. She walked away, leaving the group in uncomfortable silence. Finally, Maratel spoke. Maybe you should request a different assignment. But Crix shook his head. No. I need to know. I need to understand how anyone survives a world like that. He returned to the library that evening, but this time, he read more slowly, more carefully. And with every file he opened, a picture began to form in his mind, not just of a dangerous planet, but of beings shaped by constant threat. Beings who had learned to endure what should have been impossible. When he finally logged off late that night, Crix sat in the quiet library for a long time, thinking about Jiwoo's calm face as she described nearly dying 4 times. thinking about her calling herself lucky. He was beginning to understand that Earth was not just dangerous. It was something else entirely. Something the galactic classification system might not have adequate words to describe. The following week, Crix became obsessed. He spent every free moment researching Earth, unable to stop reading even when the information disturbed him. His classmates noticed the change. He was quieter in lectures, more distracted. His feathers had lost their usual glossy shine. Maratel tried to convince him to take a break, but Crix refused. "I need to understand," he kept saying. "I need to know how this is possible." What haunted him most was Earth's history. Not just recent history, but the deep history recorded in rocks and fossils. The files showed that Earth had experienced 5 major mass extinction events. 5 times. Something catastrophic had killed most life on the planet. Volcanic eruptions lasting thousands of years. Asteroid impacts that blocked out the sun for decades. Ice ages that turned most of the planet into frozen wasteland. And yet, life had returned each time, had adapted, had found ways to survive. Crix read about the dinosaurs, massive creatures that had ruled Earth for millions of years before an asteroid impact killed them. He read about the ice ages that forced early humans to develop complex tools and social structures just to survive the cold. He read about volcanic eruptions so large they had changed the chemistry of the entire atmosphere. Through all of this, life had continued. And somehow, humans had emerged from this chaos. One afternoon, Crix found files on human evolution. He learned that humans had evolved in Africa, a region with large predators, dangerous megafauna, and extreme climate variation. Early humans had been relatively weak compared to the creatures around them. But they had brains, and they had endurance. Crix read accounts from xenoanthropologists who studied human evolution. One report stated, humans survived not because they were the strongest, but because they were the most stubborn. When faced with predators faster and more powerful than themselves, they invented weapons. When faced with climate changes that killed other species, they migrated and adapted. When disease swept through their populations, the survivors developed immunity and continued on. They are a species defined by their refusal to accept extinction. The words made Crix's blood run cold. A species that refused to die. By the second week, word had spread through the advanced xenobiology class about Crix's research. Other students began to gather during study sessions to hear what he had learned. Even those working on different Deathworlds were fascinated by Earth. "I found something disturbing," Crix announced one evening to a group of 7 classmates. He projected an image into the air. It showed a human child, no more than 10 Earth years old, smiling at the camera. Behind the child was a massive creature with huge teeth and powerful muscles. A bear. The file labeled it. "This is considered normal," Crix said, his voice shaking. "Humans teach their young children what to do if they encounter predators like this, not if they might encounter them. When they encounter them. Because it is expected to happen." Tomric's crystalline form flickered rapidly, a sign of deep distress. "They send children into areas with these creatures? Humans live in areas with these creatures," Crix corrected. "Predators do not stay in designated zones on Earth. They go where they want. Humans have adapted to this reality." Prilna made a clicking sound of disbelief. "How does any civilization develop under such conditions?" Crix opened another file. "That is another disturbing part. Look at human history. While they were dealing with natural disasters and predators, they were also dealing with each other. The files on human warfare are extensive. The images showed battlefields, weapons, destroyed cities, wars that had killed millions, conflicts that had lasted years or decades or even centuries, humans fighting over resources, territory, ideas, religions. They are violent?" Maratel asked, her skin turning dark with fear. "We're violent," Crix said carefully. "Mostly. The warfare has decreased significantly in recent centuries. But yes, for most of their history, humans fought each other as much as they fought their environment. And still, they built civilizations. Still, they created art, science, philosophy, while surviving everything else. A new student joined their group. Zixtar was a Metharian, a species known for their calm, logical thinking. He had been quiet in class, but was considered one of the best researchers among them. "I heard you were studying Earth," he said to Crix. "I took the liberty of accessing some of the same files. With your permission, I would like to add something to your presentation." Crix gestured for him to continue. Zixtar projected a medical file. "This is a human physiological report. I found it fascinating and horrifying. Humans can survive injuries that would kill most species. Their blood clots quickly to seal wounds. Their bones can break and then heal themselves back together, often stronger than before. They can lose significant portions of some organs and continue functioning. Their immune systems can fight off infections that have no cure, simply through their body's own defenses." He pulled up another chart. "More concerning is their pain tolerance. Humans produce chemicals called endorphins and adrenaline that allow them to continue functioning even when severely injured. There are recorded cases of humans walking on broken legs, working with shattered ribs, and continuing to fight while bleeding from wounds that should have incapacitated them." The group fell silent, absorbing this information. Finally, Prilna spoke quietly. "They are like biological weapons, self-repairing, pain-resistant, adapted to survive anything." "No." Ji-Woo's voice came from behind them. No one had noticed her approach. "We are survivors. There is a difference." The students turned to face her. In the dim light of the study area, Ji-Woo looked tired. Her human features were harder to read than most species' expressions. But Crix thought she looked sad. "You speak of us like we are monsters," Ji-Woo continued. "But you do not understand. Yes, humans can survive terrible injuries. Do you know why? Because throughout our history, we had to. Those who could not survive died. Those who could passed on their genetics. It was not a choice. It was necessity. But the violence," Tomrick said, "the warfare, has decreased by more than 90% in the last century," Ji-Woo interrupted. "Yes, we fought. We fought over everything. Do you know what finally made us stop? When we developed weapons powerful enough to destroy our entire world. We looked at the edge of extinction and decided we preferred survival. We are not perfect. We still have conflicts. But we learned." 8. She walked closer to the projected images. "You look at these pictures of disasters and predators and battles, and you see horror. I look at them and see my ancestors who refused to give up, who helped each other survive, who shared food during famines, who rebuilt after earthquakes, who created medicines for plagues. Yes, Earth is terrible, but it also made us who we are." Crix found his voice. Ji-Woo was quiet for a moment. "Resilient, adaptable, and maybe a little bit crazy. You have to be crazy to look at a world that wants to kill you and decide to build cities anyway. To plant gardens in earthquake zones, to live on the slopes of volcanoes, to go into space when space is even more hostile than Earth." She smiled slightly. "My grandmother used to say that humans are the universe's cockroaches. You can drop a meteor on us, freeze us, burn us, poison us, and we keep coming back. Is that not terrifying?" Maratel asked. "Maybe," Ji-Woo admitted. "But it is also why we are here. Why we survived long enough to reach the stars. If Earth had been easy, we would be different. Maybe weaker, maybe less determined. Maybe we would not have survived to meet you at all." The group sat in silence after Ji-Woo left. They looked at each other. Then at the projected images of Earth still floating in the air. Volcanoes and hurricanes. predators, and disasters. A planet that seemed designed to prevent life from thriving. And yet, somehow, humans had not just survived. They had built a civilization, had created art and science, had made it to space, had joined the Galactic Council. I need to go deeper, Crick said finally. I need to understand the complete picture. Are you sure? Zeekstar asked. Professor Velthos warned you. This information is affecting you. You are not sleeping properly. You are not eating properly. I am sure, Crick said firmly. If I am going to present on Earth, I need to truly understand it. All of it. The next morning, Crix requested Level 5 clearance from Professor Velthos. The professor looked at him for a long time before speaking. You look unwell. Crix, I am fine. You are not fine. Several of your other professors have expressed concern. You are falling behind in other classes. You are not taking care of yourself. Velthos paused. I can assign you a different world. There is no shame in that. No, Crix said stubbornly. I need to finish this. I need to know. Professor Velthos sighed, a long whistling sound through his respiratory systems. Very well. But I am requiring you to meet with a counselor once per week. This is not negotiable. If you want the clearance, you accept the counseling. Crix agreed. That evening, he logged into the database with his new clearance level. Files that had been locked before now opened to him. Files on Earth's diseases, its parasites, its microscopic threats. As he read, Crix realized that he had been wrong. He had not understood Earth at all. The disasters and predators were only the beginning. The planet was hostile to life at every level, from the massive to the microscopic, and humans had survived it all. Crix read until dawn, unable to stop. And when the sun simulation brightened the station to mark morning, he sat at his terminal with his head in his hands, finally understanding why Professor Velthos had warned him. Earth was not just a Class 3 Deathworld. It might be the most dangerous inhabited planet in the known galaxy. 3 weeks into the semester, Professor Velthos called an emergency meeting in his office. Crix sat in the specialized chair designed for his species, feeling small under the professor's concerned gaze. Maratel was there too, along with the school counselor and the station's medical officer. Crix, Professor Velthos said gently, we are all worried about you. Your other professors report that you are not completing assignments. You have lost weight. You look exhausted. I think it is time to assign you a different project. No, Crix said immediately. I am close to understanding. I just need more time. Understanding what? The counselor asked. It is just a research project. It should not consume your entire life. But it is not just research anymore. Crix tried to explain. Earth is not just another death world. It is something different, something unique, and there are humans here, living among us, and we do not understand what they are, what they survived to get here. The medical officer leaned forward. You are having nightmares. You are not eating. You are showing signs of acute stress. This is not healthy. Before Crix could respond, there was a knock on the door. Jiwoo entered, looking slightly confused. Professor Velthos asked me to come. Is something wrong? The professor gestured to an empty chair. Sit, please. We are discussing Crix's research project. His project on Earth. Understanding crossed Jiwoo's face. She looked at Crix and saw the exhaustion, the stress. She nodded slowly. You went too deep. Too fast. I needed to know, Crix said defensively. I understand, Jiwoo said quietly. But you cannot learn about Earth the way you learn about other topics. You cannot just read data and files and expect to process it normally. Every fact about Earth sounds impossible to beings from safer worlds. Reading it all at once is overwhelming. Then help him, Professor Velthos said. You offered before, but he continued alone. If you are willing, perhaps you could provide context. Help him understand without letting the information consume him. Jiwoo considered this. I can try, but only if Crix wants my help. Crix looked at her, then at the worried faces of the professor and counselors. He realized he had been obsessing, letting the research take over his life. Yes, I would appreciate your help. The next day, Jiwoo met Crix in one of the quiet study rooms. She brought a container with her. Before we talk about Earth, she said, I want to show you something. These are human foods. Actually trying them will help you understand better than any file. She opened the container. Inside were small red fruits, some dried strips of something, and small round objects. These are peppers. This is dried meat. These are fermented vegetables. Crix looked at them suspiciously. They look safe enough. Try a pepper, Jiwoo suggested. Crix picked up a small red pepper and bit into it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then his mouth exploded with pain. Heat flooded through him. He gasped, his eyes watering. Poison, he managed to say. You gave me poison. Water does not help, Jiwoo said calmly, pushing a glass toward him. Milk works better, but we do not have any here. Just breathe. It will pass in a few minutes. Why? Crix demanded when he could speak again. Why would you eat poison? It is not poison, it is capsaicin. It only feels like burning. It does not actually harm you. Humans eat peppers for flavor. We enjoy the sensation. Jiwoo bit into a pepper herself, chewing calmly. On Earth, we have many foods like this. Spicy things. Fermented things. Bitter things. We developed tastes for them because they helped us survive. Spices kill bacteria. Fermentation preserves food. Bitter compounds are in many medicines. Crix stared at her eating the pepper without distress. You enjoy that? Very much, Jiwoo said. My family grows peppers even hotter than this one. She pushed the dried meat toward him. This is safer. Just dried meat with salt and spices. Crix tried a small piece. It was intensely flavored, much stronger than anything from his world. This is what humans eat normally. This is a snack, Jiwoo said. But yes, human food is generally more intense than what most species eat. Stronger flavors, more variety. We need more calories than most beings our size, because we maintain high body temperatures and high activity levels. Over the next hour, Jiwoo explained other aspects of human biology. She showed him how flexible human joints were, bending her fingers and wrists in ways that made Crix uncomfortable. She explained how humans could go days without sleep if necessary, though it was unhealthy. She demonstrated how humans could hold their breath for minutes at a time. We are not special, she kept saying. We are just adapted to Earth. Everything about us makes sense if you understand our environment. The lessons continued over several days. Jiwoo was patient, answering Crix's questions and correcting his misunderstandings. Slowly, Crix began to see Earth not as a collection of horrifying statistics, but as a complete system that had shaped humanity. Then, one evening during week 4 of the semester, everything changed. Crix was in the study commons with Maratel, Prilna, and several other students. Jiwoo was there too, having just finished explaining human music and why humans enjoyed such a wide range of sounds. The conversation was relaxed for the first time in weeks. Then the emergency alarms sounded. Red lights began flashing throughout the station. A calm, automated voice spoke through the communication system. Environmental system failure in Section 7. All students evacuate to designated safe zones. This is not a drill. And panic erupted immediately. Students from dozens of species began rushing toward the exits, each needing to reach their species-specific safe zones, where atmosphere and gravity could be controlled. Crix felt his heart racing. Section 7 was not far from where they were. He could already feel the temperature dropping as the heating systems failed. His species could not tolerate cold well. Around him, students were struggling. Tomric's crystalline form was fracturing slightly in the changing conditions. Maratel's skin was turning dark and rigid as her body tried to conserve moisture. Prilna had collapsed, her breathing ragged in the thinning atmosphere. And then Crix noticed Jiwoo. While everyone else was panicking, she was calm. She moved to Prilna first, checking her breathing. "Help me lift her," Jiwoo said to Crix. "We need to get her to the safe zone." "She is too heavy," Crix protested. "We need to get emergency services." But Jiwoo had already positioned herself. She lifted Prilna, the insectoid student, who easily weighed as much as Crix and Jiwoo combined. She carried her. Not dragged, not struggled with. Carried her like it was normal. "Move," Jiwoo commanded. Crix and the others followed, shocked. They reached the corridor, but it was chaos. The environmental failure was spreading faster than the automated warnings had indicated. Lights were flickering. Temperature was dropping rapidly. In some sections, gravity plates were failing, creating zones of zero gravity next to zones of normal gravity. Crix was struggling. The cold was making his joints stiff. His breathing was becoming difficult as the air changed composition. Around him, other students were in worse shape. Some had collapsed. Some were crying out in their various languages. Jiwoo set down Prilna in a safer area, then moved back into the failing sections. "Stay here," she called back. "I will get the others." For the next hour, Crix watched in awe as Jiwoo worked. The temperature had dropped to near freezing. The oxygen was fluctuating wildly. Gravity was unstable, conditions that were painful for most species. Jiwoo kept moving. She carried students who could not walk. She guided others who were disoriented. She worked steadily, methodically, showing no signs of the exhaustion that was overwhelming everyone else. When a section suddenly lost gravity, she adapted immediately, using the walls to push herself and another student toward safety. Her human adaptability was on full display. When it was cold, she shivered, but continued. When the oxygen was thin, she breathed harder, but did not stop. When she was tired, she pushed through. She worked for 14 hours straight, while other students needed medical care after just a few hours of exposure. Finally, the emergency ended. The environmental systems were repaired. The safe zones opened, and students began returning to their dorms. Crix found Jiwoo sitting against a wall in the recovered section, drinking water. She looked tired now. Her face flushed, her clothes damp with sweat. But she was fine, just tired. "You saved Prilna," Crix said, sitting carefully beside her. "And Zixtar." "I just helped during an emergency," Jiwoo said. "Anyone would have done the same." "No," Crix said firmly. "Not anyone. Most beings could not have functioned in those conditions. I certainly could not. You carried Prilna like she weighed nothing. You worked for 14 hours while others collapsed after 2. You adapted to every changing condition, without hesitation." Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. "I was not carrying Prilna like she weighed nothing. She was very heavy. It hurt. But on Earth, you learn to work through discomfort. You learn to keep moving when you are tired or hurt or scared because stopping might mean dying. It becomes automatic. But you do not live on Earth anymore," Crix said. "You are safe here." "The training does not go away," Jiwoo said. "Once you learn to survive, you do not forget how. Your body remembers. Your instincts remember." Crix sat in silence, processing what he had witnessed. All the files and data and statistics suddenly made sense. He had been reading about human capabilities in abstract terms. Now he had seen them in action. "I understand now," he said quietly. "All my research, all those horrifying facts and numbers. I was reading about you, about what Earth made you capable of doing. You are not monsters. You are not weapons. You are just what you needed to become to survive." Jiwoo nodded. "Yes. That is what I tried to tell you before. Humans are not special. We are just from Earth, and Earth required us to be this way." As they sat together in the recovered section, Crix realized something else. For weeks, He had been so focused on Earth's dangers that he had not seen the other side. Earth had not just made humans capable of surviving, it had made them capable of helping others survive too. Jiwoo had not saved those students because of some special human heroism. She had done it because on Earth, you helped others when disaster struck. Because alone, humans died. Together, they survived. That realization changed everything Crix thought he understood about Deathworlds and the beings they created. 2 weeks later, presentation day arrived. The lecture hall was packed. Word had spread throughout the station about Crix's Earth research, and students from other classes had requested permission to attend. Professor Velthos had agreed, and now nearly 200 beings from dozens of species filled the seats. Crix stood at the podium, his feathers groomed and shining again. He had recovered from his earlier obsession, thanks to Jiwoo's help and the counseling sessions. But he had also completed his research more thoroughly than any student had before. His presentation was comprehensive, detailed, and ready. "Good morning," Crix began, his voice steady. "My presentation is titled, Earth, Why Deathworld Classifications Are Inadequate. I will argue that Earth's current rating as a Class 3 Deathworld is incorrect and should be reconsidered by the Galactic Council." Murmurs rippled through the audience. Professor Velthos leaned forward with interest. Crix activated the first hologram. An image of Earth from space appeared. Blue and white and beautiful. This is Earth. At first viewing, it appears peaceful. It has water, clouds, green continents. It looks welcoming. This appearance is the first inadequacy of current classifications. Earth is not welcoming. It is one of the most hostile inhabited planets in known space. He pulled up data charts. Let me present the evidence systematically. Earth's gravity is 0.3 times stronger than galactic standard. Its atmosphere contains dangerously high oxygen levels. Its temperature range spans 90 degrees Celsius, from coldest to hottest regions. Its weather includes rotating storm systems called hurricanes that span hundreds of kilometers, tornado systems with 300-kilometer-per-hour winds, and blizzards that can kill exposed beings in minutes. The audience was silent, attentive. Many had heard pieces of this before, but Crix was presenting it all together, building a complete picture. Earth's tectonic activity causes thousands of earthquakes yearly. Some are large enough to destroy cities and trigger ocean waves that travel across entire oceans. Earth has over 1,500 active volcanoes. When these erupt, they can change global weather patterns for years. The planet has experienced 5 mass extinction events, where over 70% of all life died. And yet, life returned each time. Crix changed the display. Now it showed Earth's predators. Earth's ecosystem is built on predation. Everything eats something else. There are ambush predators that hide and attack, pack predators that coordinate hunts, persistence predators that chase prey for hours, venomous predators that inject toxins, constrictor predators that crush prey. Earth has predators in the water, on land, and in the air. Some predators hunt other predators. A student in the front row made a distressed sound. Crix continued. Earth also contains thousands of species of parasites, organisms that live inside other organisms, bacteria that cause deadly diseases, viruses that spread between beings rapidly, fungi that can take over nervous systems. Earth's microscopic life is as dangerous as its macro life. Tomric raised a crystalline appendage. Permission to ask a question? Of course, Crix said. If Earth is so deadly, how did intelligent life evolve there at all? Most Deathworlds do not produce sapient species. That, Crix said, is the critical question, and it leads to my main argument. He pulled up new data. Earth is unique. Most classified Deathworlds have 1 or 2 extreme conditions: high gravity, or extreme weather, or dangerous predators. Earth has all of these, and more. Simultaneously, and constantly. By all statistical models, sapient life should not have evolved on Earth. And yet, humans did. He changed the display to show human evolution timeline. Humans evolved over millions of years in the most dangerous regions of an already dangerous planet. They were surrounded by predators stronger and faster than themselves. They had no natural weapons, no armor, no venom. They should have gone extinct. Instead, they developed intelligence, tools, social cooperation, and endurance. They became persistence hunters, able to run for hours in heat that killed other animals. They learned to work together because alone, they died. Crix's voice grew stronger. But here is what the classification system misses. Deathworlds usually produce one of two outcomes. Either sapient life never develops, or it develops species that are too aggressive, too violent, too traumatized to function in civilized society. Earth produced humans, who are neither. He gestured to where Ji-woo sat in the audience. Humans are statistical anomalies. They are survivors from a death world who are capable of empathy, cooperation, and peace. Yes, human history includes violence. But that violence has decreased dramatically. Humans looked at their capability for destruction and chose differently. They chose civilization. Professor Velthos spoke up. You said the classification is inadequate. What classification would you suggest? Crix took a breath. I believe Earth should be reclassified as a Class 1 death world. Possibly a new category entirely. But more importantly, I believe humans should be studied not as products of a death world, but as an example of what survival can create when combined with compassion. He pulled up his final presentation slide. Let me show you what I mean. 3 weeks ago, this station experienced an environmental failure. For 14 hours, conditions were hostile. Gravity failed. Temperature dropped. Atmosphere changed. Most students required medical care after brief exposure. He paused. One human, Ji-woo Park, worked through the entire crisis. She carried injured students to safety. She adapted to every changing condition. She worked when others could not. Images from security footage appeared, showing Ji-woo moving through the crisis. She did this not because humans are superior. She did this because Earth taught her to survive. But more than that, Earth taught her that survival means helping others. Because on Earth, you do not survive alone. You survive together. Crix looked directly at the audience. This is what death world classifications miss. Yes, Earth is terrible. Yes, it is hostile to life. But it also created beings who understand that life is precious because they have seen how easily it ends. Humans know tragedy, so they developed empathy. They know danger, so they help protect others. They know suffering, so they try to reduce it. He changed the display one more time. Now, it showed statistics on human behavior in the Galactic Council. Since contact, humans have proposed 73 new safety regulations for space stations. They have developed medical treatments for 16 previously incurable diseases. They have organized disaster relief for 4 different worlds experiencing crises. They do this not because they want praise. They do it because on Earth, this is what you do. You help because others helped you. You save because you were saved. Maratel raised a tentacle. Are you saying Earth's dangers made humans good? No, Crix said carefully. I am saying Earth's dangers made humans understand the value of cooperation and compassion. They could have become violent and aggressive. Some individuals are, but as a species, they chose differently. They chose to help each other. And now, they extend that to other species. He looked at his notes, then back at the audience. I spent weeks reading about Earth's horrors. I had nightmares about the disasters and predators and diseases. I was terrified, but I was looking at it wrong. Yes, Earth is all those terrible things, But Earth also made humans who build cities in earthquake zones because that is their home, who plant gardens on volcano slopes because beauty matters even in dangerous places, who go into space, which is even more hostile than Earth, because they refuse to let danger stop them from exploring. Professor Velthos stood up. Crix, this is excellent work. You have gone beyond simple research into genuine analysis. But I have one question. You argue that Earth should be reclassified as more dangerous. Does this not contradict your point about humans being peaceful? Crix nodded. It seems contradictory. Yes, but I believe both are true. Earth is more dangerous than we rated it, and humans are more peaceful than beings from such worlds should be. This contradiction is what makes them unique. They survived the unsurvivable and remained capable of kindness. They faced extinction multiple times and chose cooperation over competition. This is unprecedented. He paused, gathering his thoughts for the conclusion. The Galactic Council has a category for death worlds. We measure gravity, temperature, predators, disasters. We rate them on a scale and think we understand them. But we do not have a category for worlds that create beings like humans. Worlds that are deadly but somehow also create species capable of joining galactic civilization, not as conquerors, but as helpers. Crix looked at Ji Woo, who sat quietly in her seat, expression neutral. I started this project, wanting to understand Earth. I end it, wanting the Council to understand humans. They are from a death world. They carry that survival instinct. But they also carry something else. They carry the memory of everyone on Earth who did not survive. Every earthquake victim, every plague death, every person lost to disasters. Humans remember them, and that memory makes them want to save others. He closed his presentation with one final slide. My recommendation to the Galactic Council: reclassify Earth as a Class 1 death world, or create a new category. Add a special note to the human species file. The note should read, approach humans with respect, not because they are dangerous, though they can be. Not because they are superior, because they are not. Approach them with respect because they have survived what should have killed them, and instead of becoming monsters, they became guardians. You will never fully understand what they have survived until you see Earth for yourself. But you do not need to understand their past to appreciate their present contribution to galactic civilization. The lecture hall erupted in sounds from dozens of species. Some were applauding in their various ways. Some were making sounds of agreement or contemplation. Professor Velthos was nodding, his forearms moving in a gesture of approval. After the presentation ended, and most students filed out, Ji Woo approached Crix. That was good, she said simply. Fair and accurate. I hope I did not offend, Crix said. I spoke about humans as if I understand you. But I know I do not. Not really. Ji Woo smiled. You understand enough. You understand the important part. Earth made us what we are, but we choose how to use what Earth gave us. That is what matters. Would you ever go back? Crix asked. Ji Woo looked thoughtful. Yes, eventually. Earth is home. It is dangerous and beautiful and terrible and wonderful. It has storms that can destroy cities and sunsets that make you cry. It has predators that can kill you and forests so beautiful they take your breath away. It is everything all at once. And despite everything it is, or maybe because of everything it is home. She started to leave, then turned back. Thank you, Crix, for trying to understand, for seeing Earth as more than just data and statistics, for seeing that the danger and the beauty cannot be separated. They are the same thing. 17. Martyrded. Professor Velthos approached as Ji Woo left. Excellent work, Crix. I will be forwarding your presentation to the Galactic Council's Classification Committee. This is graduate-level analysis. Thank you, Professor. though I could not have completed it without help. The best research is never done alone, Velthos said. He paused, then added, I have taught xenobiology for 40 years. I have never had a student understand humans the way you do now. Most see them as either weak because they come from Earth with such small bodies, or as dangerous because they survived Earth. You are the first to see that they are neither, and both, that they are simply what their world made necessary. That evening, Crix updated Earth's file in his personal database. He added his own note, one that would not go to the Council, but that he needed to write for himself. The note read, Earth is the most dangerous inhabited world I have studied. It kills casually and constantly. But it also created humans, who learned that the only way to survive danger is together. They learned that strength means helping the weak, that intelligence means protecting the vulnerable, that survival means remembering everyone who did not make it. Earth should terrify us. But humans should give us hope. Because if beings from Earth can choose peace after surviving that, then perhaps there is hope for all of us. Crix saved the file and closed his terminal. Outside his window, the stars shone brightly. Somewhere out there was Earth, spinning quietly in space, continuing its billions of years-long project of creating life that refused to die. And on this station, humans walked among other species, carrying their Deathworld survival skills and their hard-won compassion, proving every day that the worst circumstances could create the best people. Crix understood now. Earth was not just a death world. It was a forge, and humans were what it had shaped from the raw material of survival. Strong enough to endure, wise enough to choose kindness, and brave enough to leave their dangerous home to explore an even more dangerous universe. That, Crix decided, was truly worthy of respect.